want to do is do a what we call a body check on somebody. So today, I think we'll do it with Reggie.
My body is ready.
Okay, Reggie, please stand on the Wii balance board.
Nice approach.
Hey everyone, welcome back to Geek Branch. This is your host, Tim. As you know, these are my co-hosts, Dane and Cussler. We have some very interesting news, as most already know. E3 has been canceled. Yes, that's right. It's not because it is a skeleton of its former self. No, it's actually because of a virus. It is because of COVID-19, as everything else is being canceled currently. So the ESA, which is the organization in charge of E3, came out with an announcement this morning, letting everyone know that they have indeed decided to cancel the event due to the fact that health concerns and all of that with the virus that's spreading around the world. And along with that, a lot of companies, including the ESA, are scrambling to figure out what to do. So Ubisoft and Microsoft have confirmed they are going to be doing live streams of their own. So we know what they're doing. PlayStation and Nintendo already do their directs. So you ain't got to worry about that. There's a few other companies that typically do some sort of show or on the showroom floor of some sort of capacity. Also, a lot of things that fans forget about when it comes to E3 is there's a lot of backroom deals that go on. That's a big part of E3, where a lot of developers get to talk to one another and make deals for games and stuff. So it's a perfect opportunity for the business side. So it's a shame for them. A lot of fans, while many have said that this in general is dying because of the online presence, that is YouTube and everything else, where Nintendo does their stuff and Sony does and so many of the others. A lot of people really enjoyed it being compacted into one day where you could sit back. Maybe if you were like me, took a day or two off to enjoy all the content that you got to find out about. Also, another tidbit that we found out during all of this, apparently Warner Brothers was planning to host its own event, which is very interesting. It's a big deal because Warner Brothers has never done that. So obviously they had a lot of games lined up. So I guess they'll figure out their way. E3 is talking about doing their own digital thing where they'll make announcements with some partnered developers. What do you guys think about all this?
Well, I think it's a given and a smart thing to do, generally speaking. Obviously, as a business sense, it's pretty unfortunate.
Yes.
Because E3 has pretty much been dead in the water, and this is probably the nail in the coffin, to be 100% honest. Moving to every one of these individual companies doing their own live streams and or online presentations pretty much means that E3 is exactly what we always kind of expected it to be in the last 4 to 5 years.
Yeah.
Irrelevant and kind of not important.
Well, the issue is they for the past couple of years they've kind of straddled the fence of this is for developers while also trying to appease fans. You can't have it both ways. If you want to make it a fan experience, make it a fan experience. If you want to make it like Gamescom, make it like Gamescom, which is the biggest European game show or conference, whatever you want to call it. So I agree with Dane. I feel like EA has been, not EA, well, EA is EA, but E3 has been slowly dying because they have, for the longest time, refused to get with the times. Even their longtime host, Jeff Keighley, before any of this happened, said, hey, I don't like the direction E3 is going. I am not going to host their YouTube, basically, event show this year. And so I don't know who they're going to get to host. I mean, yeah, a lot of people don't like Jeff Keighley, but Jeff Keighley is still an icon in the gaming industry. So it would be interesting to see who they try to get to host their online, obviously, curated event that they're going to have to do now. I don't think that a lot of like journalists and stuff are very happy with E3 because many people might have forgotten about this. But after E3, a bunch of the journalist companies, their journalists' information got what's called doxed. Everybody found out about where certain ones, like Jason Schreier, where they lived or what their phone number was and stuff like that. Or Greg Miller, apparently. Greg Miller is, they, for some reason, banned him from E3. I forgot why. If you don't know who Greg Miller is, he is very much an icon, just like Jeff Keighley of the video game industry. He was a longtime host of IGN, and he is one of the head host of Kind of Funny Games. It's a YouTube channel. Should check it out. Anyways, so there's been a lot of mixed emotion with E3 in the past couple of years. I think PlayStation figured out what direction it was going here recently. Also, there's been a lot of talks about how PlayStation's head people and the ESA have had a bad relationship in recent times. So a lot of things are going at E3 at once, and I feel like it's going to die here soon. If it comes back in 2021, I feel like they're going to have to turn it into a fan experience if they want it to keep going.
I mean, regardless of if they do or not, we're just talking about what is the purpose of E3, being that it's mostly, game content developers advertising or premiering titles for the next year or following years. And one for one, most all of these have been pretty bad experiences in recent times. Realistically, I am no longer a big fan of the preemptive hype train that comes with most of the things that appear at E3. I mean, if you look back at things like Anthem, you can see that, like,
Yeah, well, EA has always been
I know, but
terrible with their E3 events.
yeah, I'm just saying. But like, so many companies now push out these gameplay trailers, which are mostly cinematic and very much so don't represent what the game's actually going to be when it releases. And then they just hop up on this giant hype train and build up expectations for it. And then the product itself is absolutely garbage. So I just, E3 has been irrelevant for me for a long time at this point, and even more so now, of course, for the killing blow to be something as unfortunate as a pandemic is something that I wouldn't wish upon anybody.
No,
But
yes.
regardless, it's just needed to go. So
For me, about the only, what would I say? The only presentation I ever actually cared about was Square Enix. Come on, you know me. And honestly, there's, in my opinion, been more the better ones. Like, most people were hyped for FF7, FF7 Remake, I mean, the Marvel Avengers game, and, well, not as many, but for me, Shadowbringers. God,
Well, there was actually a lot of people upset at the Marvel Avengers premiere.
Well,
Because
yes.
of the character models.
Yes, I know, but still, to me...
They look like PlayStation 2 character models.
Yeah, people bitch about anything. But either way, like, Square Enix is the only one I cared about. Past that, I never watched any of them, and I never cared enough to. Like, even Nintendo's, I went back and watched, I guess, the Direct later on. That's about it.
Yeah, but Nintendo's not, like, they don't do, like, announcements at E3 anyways. They just do their showroom stuff.
No, they did a couple announcements. Like, they at least announced...
You mean during their Playhouse?
Yeah.
Treehouse?
Yeah, they did a couple, but it wasn't anything major. Like,
No,
I think
all the big stuff is on.
I think, like, Astral Chain got, like, confirmed, and a couple other... Or was that before?
It was during the Direct, not during Treehouse.
Okay, then yeah.
I'm the big Nintendo guy of the group.
Then it was just the Direct that I caught later, and then, okay, yeah.
Nintendo kind of paved the way, in my opinion. They saw how it was going to be, and I remember when they started doing Nintendo Directs, and everybody gave them a hard time, like, Nintendo, why are you doing this? Or as so many people say, rip Nintendo, but they saw what E3 was going to become. They knew that YouTube was essentially the future for this sort of thing.
Sorry.
No, you're okay.
Not only that, but, like, they are one of the biggest companies of being very open with their fans, very much of, this is what we're giving you. Give us a little time. We're going to work on it.
Right.
But this is what we're giving. And usually most of what they reveal during Directs or what they're working on is actual gameplay footage. And usually it's really good.
Metroid Prime 4 was one of the few instances where they jumped the gun, and they really apologized about that. Because they originally had a team from Bandai Namco working on it, and they scrapped it and had an internal team and one of the big teams that was partnered with them for years that did the first 3 Metroid Prime games, which is Retro Studios, if I'm remembering correctly.
Yeah. But other than that, I mean, as I said, they've always been very open with their fans.
I think this will also make these big developer companies that have kind of held on to E3 as like a crutch, as like, this is the one way we can get all of our information out to all of our consumers. No, it's not.
I mean,
Just go announce it on YouTube. If it's interesting enough, it will garner enough more attention than E3. If anything, some of these games might end up getting more hype because they're getting their own individual attention versus, having to compete with a large amount of different companies announcing their stuff all in the same week.
Well, I mean, let's hold off on that for just a second because YouTube really isn't the best platform. I mean, not saying that EA is
Facebook?
Sorry. No, not Facebook either.
Twitter?
Tim, I really wouldn't suggest any of those, actually. I think that perhaps there just needs to be a new online-based face for this type of presentation. Because you can say YouTube, but what happens is that plenty of games do exactly that. They have a short rundown and then a trailer or footage that's released directly to YouTube as basically like a YouTube spot. Like you'd have TV spots, except it's just a YouTube spot. And a lot of those haven't really done anything different from what you would see at E3. And it's more of the same, just on YouTube, without the presentation that comes with E3. The benefit of E3 was that it had a long-running history, and being a part of that gave your game a little bit of a lift. You know what I'm saying? Regardless of if you were going to be, actually showing gameplay footage or just telling people that you're coming out with a new game, EA was a good platform. Not EA, E3 was a good platform to shoot it off on. You know what I'm saying? To launch off of.
In another vein,
YouTube, but YouTube, though, it's not really that. I mean, at that point, you might as well just have your own website.
In another vein,
I guess
E3 was also basically at this point just a giant convention of getting people to come and, personally see what's coming out, go to the different presentations, maybe get to talk with developers and stuff like that. I know, granted, this is from, again, 14 because it's the only one I really care about. People got to talk directly with the director for 14 and interview him and everything at E3. That's why I'm like,
yeah, I get it. It's just like with CD Projekt Red with Cyberpunk 2077. There was a lot of journalists and fans that got to go into a back room and play the game in its alpha and then beta state and got to experience that. So
and that footage eventually came to YouTube and also continued to play out pretty well. And that's something that only really can happen at E3.
Or some of the ones that are starting to grow, like I mentioned about Gamescom, and there's a few others like GDC, which unfortunately GDC was also canceled due to COVID-19.
Right. So the point being is that I feel obviously that physical platforms aren't very relevant anymore. That is the case with E3. But what they brought to the table, which was the prestige that came from the presentation itself, as well as the unique setting in which you were allowed to interact both with journalists, developers, as well as consumers at once, something that has to be replicated in some way.
I feel like the one way that has worked is Nintendo. Nintendo is the only online one that has worked where it's hyped people and has got a lot of attention.
Well, see, I'm not a big fan of the whole hyping thing to begin with. But my point being,
but it works.
I don't know about. Well, sure, go right ahead. I'm not even a Nintendo guy to begin with, so
I know. I'm just saying it's the only one that works. Like PlayStation's tried to do it, and there's
this is that Nintendo Direct thing that you're referring to.
Yes,
Yes.
they did one about last
It's
one.
been 6 months.
Yeah, last one I remember was about half a year ago, and they did.
Have you ever watched a Nintendo Direct?
No, and I don't think I ever will. But more importantly,
Then you don't know the experience of it.
then I wasn't referring to the experience of it. I was actually about to ask you some questions about it.
Okay.
I mean, did I give an opinion on Nintendo's Direct?
Well, you made it seem like
I still think it's
'cause-
going to fail to do what
I know, but I'm saying you said that YouTube doesn't work.
Yes.
And Nintendo Direct is a perfect example of YouTube working.
So, what I'm trying to say, just to make sure that we're clear here, is that when we refer to E3, I think that the benefit of E3 is once again that it is a place or a platform where you can get the interaction between the consumers, journalists, and the creators of the game, the developers of the game.
Right.
Right. Does Nintendo's Direct do that?
No, because you can't. that doesn't work online.
On YouTube.
In general,
But that's what I was referring to, though.
an online experience will never be like a physical experience.
Well, it doesn't have to be a physical experience. You just need to have those three things interacting at once. You can do that online. My point being is that Nintendo's Direct isn't that, though.
I mean,
I'm not saying it's good or I'm not saying it's bad.
I don't think
That's the
that.
reason
No,
why I
I'm
said
just saying that
YouTube
that wouldn't
is
work
not-
online because
There's a way to make it work online. You can have lobbies.
I
And
mean
chat rooms and stuff like
yeah,
that,
but
it's
like the
not-
closest thing would be like Inside Xbox. Inside Xbox has like developers coming and talking to the host and stuff like that, and then they have journalists involved in different things,
Right. So
and they have fans there.
So my point would be, though, is that is what E3 uniquely does, and that is what YouTube does not do. And that's the only point I was making. So
Well, again, Inside Xbox is on YouTube and Mixer, so and it did exactly all three things you just pointed out.
but that's not what Nintendo Direct does.
No, it's basically not. It's not meant to be that way. I mean,
Right.
and Inside Xbox gets way less attention than Nintendo Direct.
So you can say that also it still doesn't work.
I mean, it does everything you just said. It's just it's not E3. It's not going to be E3.
Well, then that's my... Tim, I think
Anything-
we're just like crossing streams here. I don't know if we're working this out.
I'm just saying that like any online experience that you're going to try to come up with in the next few years is not going to. People aren't going to get hyped over it the same way E3 was.
Right. But see, what we're talking about here is what we're losing with E3 and then what potentially replaces E3. And your point would be that what replaces it as far as building hype goes is something like Direct,
Yes.
which is fine. That's a valid solution.
Right.
What I'm saying is what replaces it as far as the unique situation that it brought, where these three entities got to interact, being the
Then
developers.
just other conferences
But you
like Gamescom,
Well, what I'm saying is that
Tokyo Game Show.
are any of those E3?
I mean, none of them are E3. E3
As far
is
as
been
just,
around
like-
for so long.
Right. And so
It's built a legacy. Even though it's starting to die, it still had a legacy.
Right. And so what we're talking about here are those potential things. And right now, nothing matches E3. So even with the death of E3, which is what we're referring to, there's nothing that's immediately placed to replace it.
Right.
Right. And that's
Well, the one solution that they're going to come up with instead of finding it's what we would consider its true replacement. They're not going to do that. The companies are just going to make live streams. That's all they're going to do. I don't think there'll ever be an E3 again. I don't think there'll ever be a conference that's on the same level that E3 was back in the 90s to the 2000s.
okay.
That's my opinion.
That's fine. As long as we just, managed to shuffle our way through that, because I felt like we were crossing the streams there.
I guess.
Yeah, we were just talking about two different things.
Okay. Did you have anything else to say, Cussler?
No, I don't think so. I mean, we basically made the point that like E3 has been dead for a while, honestly. Like as much as we did enjoy watching it last year, and I know a lot of us watched it all together, or at least watched it at the same time and talked about it. That's about it. There's not much else to say. As you pointed out, Nintendo Directs and something similar are a way for the developers to get the information out. But as Dane has pointed out, that's not the true way of getting all three of the main
Components of
yes.
E3.
Right.
Yes.
So the summarize is that there will be something that comes after it, but nothing will ever be E3. And
Yeah.
it's sad that E3
I mean, there's things that are already there. I mean, there's already plenty of conferences that exist.
E3 is just iconic. I think that's the
Yeah.
big thing.
Yeah, because there's plenty of others where they could announce things.
Yeah, true. And I'm not saying that that's not the case. I'm just saying that this is what we're losing with E3.
Yeah.
It's just, there are plenty of democracies, but there's
Right.
only one America. You see
Right.
what I'm saying?
Well, with E3, a lot of people, there was a lot of different moments in history with E3. There was the big competition between Sega and PlayStation, and where PlayStation, it was a very legendary moment where one of I guess he was the president, he announced the price for the PlayStation, and that's all he said, and he walked away from the stage. That was only E3 has been like one of those moments, and there's been moments like that for a lot of the other big names. There's been and then there's been a lot of funny moments like with the PlayStation 3 or when Xbox One was announced and how they wanted to make it digital only, and then PlayStation took that moment to jab at them. And I mean, there's been things with Nintendo where we got the Reginator, and he said, "My body is ready for Wii Move." And there's just been a lot of stuff. There's been a lot more media attention around E3 versus the others, which is, I think, what has culminated this thing that is E3. I don't know if the media will ever focus on another one as on the same level as they ever will.
Reggie,
E3.
if you listen to this, I miss you.
Huh?
Reggie, if you're listening to this, I miss you. You're
Yeah,
amazing.
he's actually with GameStop now.
I heard.
Yeah, he's part of the board of directors.
That's unfortunate. He hopped onto a sinking ship. But more importantly,
I'm sure he's getting plenty of money from it.
Yeah. But more importantly, I guess to wrap it all up is that, you know, we will mourn the passing of E3 and the unique culture that it brought. It's as simple as that, you know. So something that was good is gone. It's about all there really is to say about it.
All right, guys. Thanks for watching. Thank you for listening. And most of all, thank you for letting us get to the root of our geek culture with you.
You have to put down the hand weights and pick up the daggers. Everyone do it with me. Diddle, 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 diddle. I said everyone go. All right.